Hello, citizens of YouTube land.
Hey.
It's your president and your VP, and we're back once again with another episode of I Love This Movie.
Nice.
This time it's going to be
Megamind.
Premiered November 5th, 2010. It was produced for a budget of $131 million, $130 million, excuse me, and it made $321.9 million at the box office. And for those of you who care, it has a score of 72% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't think that's really deserved. So we open up this movie with the DreamWorks logo being presented, and this was made by DreamWorks, and it also came out the same year as another film about a villain turning good, but really doesn't turn good, even though Megamind does at the end of this film. Anyways, Despicable Me. So, anyways, so we get the DreamWorks logo and all that. It's really cool. It's stylized. And then the logo fades into the movie where we have Will Ferrell's opening narration about how he's falling to his death and stuff. And he's like, well, this is it and all that. Maybe I should start from the beginning to show you how I got here and all that. So he does. And it turns out that his family, he's escaping his dying planet, which is getting sucked into a black hole, as well as another character in this film named Metro Man, who he was a goody two shoes and all that, and it's a really fun opening scene. And then we see them. He's about to crash land into this rich household, but then Metro Man, like, his ship comes in, knocks him to the prison, and he crash lands into the rich household, and it's actually a pretty funny scene. There's a lot of jokes that work really well in this film.
Yeah, so he's in the prison as a young alien child, and the prisoners are pretty much teaching him all the wrong things, of course, that burglars are good, cops are bad, and this kind of thing. And he goes to school as well, and he learns how to be, he goes to school, but Metro Man goes to the same school as him and is constantly showing him up. And so he thought, well, if I am a bad guy, I'll be the best bad guy around.
And then you get Bad to the Bone by I think it's George Thorogood, right?
Yep.
The George Thorogood band.
Great soundtrack, by the way. You've got George Thorogood. You've got some AC/DC in there and as well. And hey, as we've stated in the past in our Maximum Overdrive review, if you have AC/DC in your soundtrack, you've automatically got a great film.
Dad, we've never covered Maximum Overdrive.
I thought we had.
No, we haven't.
Well, we'll have to then.
Okay. Anyways, so so the Bad to the Bone starts playing and all that. It's really cool. And then we get the Warden, who's played by J.K. Simmons. If you don't know who he is, well, go watch our Spider-Man review and our Invincible review, and we'll tell you who J.K. Simmons is.
So, it's more or less a play on, like, the Superman Lois Lane scenarios as well, because you have Metro Man and Megamind is constantly kidnapping Roxanne, and she's like really used to it and whatnot, and it's like, oh,
she's like, oh,
okay.
you're so predictable. And he's like, well, what are you gonna do about your alligators? And then he shows up as she says that, and then there's alligators up, and it's really cool. It's really funny. The jokes here work really well, and then Roxanne, she says that they're by the observatory and stuff. And Metro Man goes to the observatory, and then Megamind is like, do you really think we were in the real observatory? And stuff. And then they just started throwing puns back and forth.
And Metro Man's like, oh, Copper, how'd you know that was my one weakness?
He's like, wait, your weakness is copper? Of all the times that I fought you, how did I never figure this out?
It's pretty good. So, apparently Megamind is able to kill Metro Man.
Yeah, and then we get his introduction where he's walking down the street and dancing, and then Highway to Hell is playing. It's awesome. Again, the soundtrack is really good because you get George Thorogood, AC/DC, you get Guns N' Roses near the end. It's really cool. So, anyways, so yeah, he says, drop the guns to the police, and then he starts having fun. And then we get Ozzy Osbourne as well, Crazy Train.
Oh, should also mention that his parents basically sent him with a pet, an associate,
Oh, yeah.
a minion, if you
his,
will.
His name is Minion, and he's played by David Cross.
And he's excellent in the role, too. He's absolutely hilarious. Everybody in this movie is great.
And
Will
then,
Ferrell, Tina Fey, Jonah Hill. The whole cast is just completely great.
Yeah, then you have this nerdy stalker dude named Hal, who's played by the talented Jonah Hill, and honestly, I couldn't think of any other voice to play that role other than Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
And
well, Hal is freaking creepy. Like, really creepy.
Yeah, and so...
Like, really, really, really creepy.
Yeah, and Megamind, Roxanne, she's visiting the Metro Man Memorial and stuff, and Megamind's also there saying his condolences and stuff. And, she runs into Bernard, which is, who, during this scene, is actually played by Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
But then Megamind dehydrates him, and then he turns into Bernard.
So Megamind also has this plan, because without Metro Man, he doesn't have a sense or a purpose. So he thinks, well, I'll just create a new superhero to fight.
So he starts creating so he extracts the DNA of Metro Man and turns it into like this power stuff. And then there's this really funny scene where Roxanne, she finds the entrance, she finds Megamind's secret hideout, and Megamind, he's like, well, she won't be able to find the secret entrance. And she's like, I found the secret entrance. And he's like, how'd she find the secret entrance?
There's a doormat that says secret entrance.
I told you to get that thing off. And he's like, but you keep forgetting where it is, sir.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So Hal ends up with the powers by complete accident. There's like a thing that shoots out and it hits him, and Hal gets the powers. So Megamind is then trying to teach Hal how to be a superhero.
Yeah,
but you see, Hal is definitely not pure of heart. He's not a good person inside. So he does, well, the exact opposite. He becomes a supervillain.
No, he becomes a villain because remember with the line with Megamind. Anyways, we'll talk about that when we get to that. So yeah, Megamind, he starts teaching Hal how to be a superhero and stuff, and then how he's using like his laser eyes on like this Megamind dummy and stuff. He's like zap, zap, zap. And Megamind's like, like very super nervous and stuff. Also, Will Ferrell does a Brando impression of The Godfather for Space Dad. It's really funny.
Yeah. So things progress, and Hal he's been in love with Roxanne. That's where the whole creepy stalker vibes come from. And Roxanne just sees him as, her cameraman, basically, and has no romantic interest in him. She does have a romantic interest in Bernard, who is now secretly Megamind.
Yeah.
And so Hal is busy stalking and whatnot, and Roxanne and Bernard are on a date. Well, he can switch back and forth via like some kind of wrist application that he has.
Yeah.
And they accidentally touch the wrist as they're kissing, so Roxanne is now kissing Megamind.
Yeah, and the entire restaurant sees this, and then,
she gets freaked out, naturally.
She's like, what would you think you would ever gain from this? And then, again, this scene, by the way, this movie, I have to talk about the animation for a quick sec, because the animation is just so freaking good for 2010. It's like, good gosh. DreamWorks, you freaking geniuses. All DreamWorks movies are beautifully animated. I mean, just take a look at The Prince of Egypt and Spirit for an example, and you'll see that. Some of their best hand-drawn animated movies of all time. But Megamind is just so good because you can see, like, how, like, the rain reflects off of the characters, and then how, like, it's almost like as good as the water physics of Pixar, like 5 years down the road. It's so good, and you see this, and then this entire scene is just beautifully animated and stuff, and I can't stop talking about how good the animation is.
So, she had found out, and as he said, as my esteemed colleague here said, that she's mad, and she says, "Did you ever think that you and I could be a thing or something to that nature?" And she basically crushes Megamind because Megamind. Let's face it, guys. If you've watched the film, you know that Megamind has pretty much been in love with Roxanne from the very get go.
Yeah.
And that despite all the times he had kidnapped her and whatnot, he never actually put her in any real mortal danger.
Yeah. So, anyways, Megamind, he goes through this big spree where he's back in black and stuff, and he's like, I hear this, like, there's this new superhero in town who's trying to stop me and stuff, of Titan, and it's really cool.
Except Titan is not a superhero at all. And he had actually been robbing banks and doing all kinds of bad stuff. But he does beat Megamind, and then he has a whole city under his control. And Roxanne goes back to Megamind and is like, "Hey, you gotta do something. You gotta stop this." And then Megamind pretty much rejects her though, because he's like, "I'm the villain. I'm the bad guy. That's all I know. That's all I know how to be."
And I don't get the girl. And also, one of my favorite lines in this, I gotta talk about the comedy for a second, because they are also going to Metro Man's hideout where where Roxanne, stops the car, and then Megamind hits his head. He's like, "Oh, my big blue head!" It's only something that Will Ferrell could do.
So, they eventually team up, though. Roxanne does manage to convince Megamind that, hey, he needs to do something. So, they go to Metro Man's hideout, where they find out that Metro Man was alive the whole time.
Yeah, because he felt like that he has he felt like he was always stuck as this role of the city's protector against Megamind and all that. And it's really fun. And then
he realizes, not to cut you off, but then he realizes that he does have a choice. So he come up with the plan to fake his own death and be able to do things. But then they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? You got to go stop him." And he goes, "Well, that's not my bag anymore. I'm not going to do that." So then Megamind has to take matters into his own hands to be able to defeat him.
And so then you have Titan, who kidnaps Roxanne again and puts her on Metro Tower. And then you have Megamind, the opening chords to Welcome to the Jungle starts playing. It's really awesome. And then you see this, and then Titan is like, the city doesn't have room for two supervillains, and he's like, "Oh, you're a villain, all right, but not just a super one." He's like, "Yeah, what's the difference?" He's like, "Presentation!"
It's an all-out fight and whatnot, and in the end, Megamind does defeat him, and he actually gets the girl as well, because, because you have to go all the way back to the beginning, where his parents were telling him that he was destined for great, but they get cut off right there, that he's destined for great things, that he has a goodness inside of him, basically. And that he had never actually known that until, Roxanne and the city and all of this, and he got the chance to be the superhero that he was always intended to actually be.
Yeah, so just a quick note here real quick. A lot of people like comparing Megamind to Despicable Me, and I can see where that goes, but honestly, I think Megamind is a better film than Despicable Me. Mostly because in the end, Megamind does turn into a full-fledged super good guy, while Gru still stays a villain at the end of the film. You got to remember that.
Yeah,
he doesn't turn into a good guy until Despicable Me 2. You gotta remember that, guys.
It's definitely a very fun film, guys. If you haven't watched this in a while, or if you've never seen it, you can find it on Blu-ray, DVD. You could also find it on various streaming platforms. We had found it on
Amazon Prime through IMDb TV.
There you go. So, final rating for me, definitely 5 out of 5. What say you?
Also a 5 out of 5. This film is it's so good. I can't stop talking about it. Also, if you want to, there's also a video game based off of Megamind for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. So we might do a review on that one later on. And there was a made-for-DVD sequel called Megamind and the Doom Button.
Yeah, which is on the DVD and Blu-ray. You can find it there. Also, the video game he was talking about, it was expanded, and you can find it on the Wii as well as the Nintendo DS and also the PSP. So, however, if you think that Megamind is the worst animated film of all time, well, you are definitely wrong on that, and you have clearly done drugs. But, hey, just remember, we're just
two idiots with a cell phone camera. Our opinions do not matter, except they actually do, because we have a YouTube show, except they actually don't.
So, having said all that, guys, remember, stay tuned, because we'll definitely be getting some more Christmas stuff out for you guys. This is the month of December, as we well know by now. And be on the lookout for new content in the very near future. And with having said all of that, there's only one thing left to say, and that is peace and love from Denny and Son. Bye!